so much for everyone being here, for taking the time to spend your 2 hours of your day with me. It means so much to me, and it really says a lot about your commitment to your growth, which is what we're all about, right? Like, we're all entrepreneurs here, so obviously we're pretty committed to the growth of our visions and our goals and our lives. So I'm super excited that you chose to spend some time with me today. I'm so grateful to share this value with you. Yay! Welcome, Ray. Feel free to drop in the chat how you're feeling and where you're tuning in from. We're all kind of sharing a bit. Yeah. So I really want to invite you guys throughout the training today and tomorrow to cultivate a safe space for learning and exploration. Like, I really want all of us to feel safe to ask questions, to support and celebrate each other through our learning journey, because we're all in different places. And so there's no dumb questions, there's no bad questions, there's no silly questions. They're all good questions. And I am so excited that you're here. So I really, really encourage that level of vulnerability in this space to the extent of what you feel comfortable sharing, of course. It's super important as we are moving through some of the topics we're going to talk about that we recognize the emotions that come up within us, because throughout anything in our lives, especially in business, there are so many layers that can come up that want to be spoken to, that want to be felt, that want to be recognized. And so I just want to say that this is a safe space to feel those feelings, to recognize them, to speak to them, so that we can collectively as a community support you in what you're going through. Of course, to the extent of what you feel comfortable sharing, right? This is not a hustle culture space, and so much of what I'm talking about with the feelings kind of plays into that. I really, really encourage you guys to tune into what is resonating for you, what is aligned for you, and to leave what doesn't connect. Not everything that I say is going to connect to every single one of you. So pay attention to those little lightning bolts, those little, aha moments, those little, whispers in the back of your mind or your heart that are saying, hey, listen to this. Hey, write this down, because you never know what you might catch. Some of the things we're going to talk about might be very simple to some of you, or might seem very simple to some of you. Some of the topics we're going to cover might seem a little bit more complex to some of you. So let's just, give each other that compassion and that space as we're learning and growing together, and give yourself that compassion as well to expand into new spaces, or to revisit your old foundation and see where you can maybe improve upon what you've already started, what you've already built. So I really invite you to lean in and stay present with me throughout both days, because it can be really powerful and very, very helpful to go back to the basics if you feel like some of these things are pretty foundational. Okay, so who is ready to dive in? Can you guys type 333 in the chat if you're with me, so I know that you're with me? I am so ready to go. Yeah, let's do it. Awesome. And if you guys have your cameras turned off, it's okay if like intermittently you need to turn it off and listen, but it really, really does help me understand if you're getting what I'm saying, to see those nods, to see that those reactions from you. It kind of lets me know, okay, they're getting it, they're not getting it, maybe we need to revisit this thing and whatnot. You can also, if you're active in the chat, I have that up here as well, so you can interact in that way. So before we begin, I want to share with you guys a little bit of context about how we all got here, how I got here, possibly how you got here, and what's going on. So Kennedy is here. Ken & Co is her little tag name on here. She is my assistant for today's call. So if you have any questions on where to find things, she can also help you with that. And she's just amazing and is going to help us throughout the process. So thank you for being here, Kennedy. And thank you all for being here again. So a little context about my journey. Ever since I was a little kid, like 9, 10 years old, I really knew and saw that I was different from a lot of people around me. Maybe you guys can relate to that, just being highly sensitive, highly creative, highly expressive. And I knew that I wasn't really put here to walk the conventional path that was laid out for me by my parents and their parents and their parents, the 9 to 5, the go to school and do it this way, right? And I'm sure a lot of you guys can also relate to that. Maybe you went down that path and then you realized, wait, this isn't really who I am, or this isn't right for me. And so you made that transition into something different, more alive for your spirit, your soul. So I always easily gravitated towards art and technology. I remember teaching myself how to animate when I was like 9 years old, making videos with my toys and putting them out on YouTube when YouTube first came out. And I always wanted to be a creator. I always wanted to do something creative that also made an impact on the planet and people's lives in a positive way. And so by the time I was 13, I was building websites for local businesses where I grew up. I was doing photography and doing videography and getting hired for those skills. So this is something that I've been doing for over 10 years, but it's been about 10 years professionally that I've been creating content, managing social media accounts, and helping my clients and my own businesses actually see incredible results. And I was so focused on this kind of growth. I even went to school for advertising for almost a year, and I didn't even, it took me just a few months to say, okay, I can't do this. I can do it, but I don't want to do this because I am so misaligned with the manipulative, coercive tactics that I'm being taught in school. So I decided I've got to just pave my own path, real deal, and figure it out. And so it was through that process, through a lot of trial and error, that I came to a place of finding really clear, sustainable systems that are really focused on attraction and alignment over like the manipulative, coercive techniques I was being taught in school, and it was actually working. So I continued to do that for a variety of different kinds of businesses, including all of my own businesses. I'm a manifesting generator, if anyone knows human design in here. So for me, like I've always like had a million different projects going on at once. So I've kind of funneled my content creation and social media skills into all of those areas, which has given me a lot of perspective on how to help entrepreneurs in a variety of different options, different pathways, through e-commerce, through life coaching, through business coaching, through retreat leaders, permaculture initiatives, so many different things. As long as it's making a positive impact, I'm in for it, pretty much. So yeah, this is how the Radiant Presence Mastermind was born. This is how we all came to this place. And thank you so much for taking this leap and showing up here today. So here's what I've kind of gathered about a lot of you guys through our confirmation calls. You also grew up knowing that you were meant for something more, meant for something different than the conventional path. You've tried many different pathways, really looking to find that sense of connection, freedom, and impact in the work that you do. And you've had successes, you've had struggles, maybe sometimes you found yourself feeling unfulfilled, confused, and burnt out along the way. Maybe social media has been a big aversion for you and you don't even want to touch it. Maybe it's something that you've always done, but you've always felt like a little lost. Maybe you're so focused on doing it for other people that yours kind of gets abandoned through the process. And you've definitely had success, but now you're really wanting to learn and expand to the next level. You want to get to that place where it gets to feel easy, where it gets to feel simple, where it gets to feel so abundant that it's like, how is this even, how did I get here, right? So the good news is that you're in this room today. We're going to go through it together. And yeah, you know that in order to grow to that next level, you have to be open to the possibility of what that even looks like, of what that even feels like in your body, in your spirit. So over the next 2 days, my goal is to have you guys actually have work done so you're not leaving with a giant checklist. My goal is for you to really find that connection to that feeling within yourself of social media gets to be fun and easy. Marketing my services, marketing my products, marketing whatever I'm offering gets to be fun and easy. I get to show up and play and make an impact. That's my goal for you guys. So we're gonna kick off with a quick breakout room session. This is gonna be an opportunity for you guys to connect with each other. We're gonna have about 10 minutes. And once you guys get into your breakout rooms, one person is gonna be the timer. So just make sure that everyone has enough time to share, everyone has enough time to go. And if you guys have a little extra time afterwards, you can just kind of chit chat until we come back. So we'll have 10 minutes. And while you're in the room, I want you guys to share with each other your name, what you do, a little bit about who you are, and what are you excited, the most excited about for the next 2 days? What are you the most excited about for this training together? Okay, does everyone got that? Okay, awesome, awesome. Back, everyone. All right. Marsha, can you unmute and share with me what you talked about, what you shared in your breakout room with your group?
Oh, okay. I was struggling there a little. It was mainly introduction. We had like a really pleasant conversation, just getting to know each other. Yeah, I've met some amazing women doing amazing things, quite honestly.
Awesome. And did you guys talk about what you're most excited about for the event?
Yeah, the biggest thing was mainly just seeing what light bulb moments may occur, any epiphanies, Yeah, that was the main thing.
I love it. I love it. Just so open to what's gonna expand.
Yeah.
So cool. Thanks for sharing. Does anyone else want to unmute and share how it went in the group?
Sure, I'll share. It was just super nice to connect and yeah, just connect. I feel like just being here in New Jersey, I don't really have community around, so just connecting with conscious sisters is awesome.
I love it. And did you guys talk about what you're most excited about for the event?
Yeah, I'm just excited to learn and just get it rolling with social media because I feel like I dealt with a lot of burnout and yeah, I'm just ready for like structure.
Yeah. Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing, Claudia. Does anyone else want to share? We have time for one more quick share. Three, two, one. Okay. Well, if you guys have any reflections you want to share, always feel free to drop it in the chat. Cool. So I want to move us into a quick exercise because so much of what we're doing on social media, it starts with the way that we feel inside. And this goes for even if you're having sales conversations in person, even if you're having connection conversations about your business in person, the way that you feel about what you are presenting, what you're sharing, what you're saying is felt by the person you're communicating to or the many people you're communicating to when it comes to social media. So I want you guys to take a moment to reflect and then drop in the chat, how do you currently feel when you post on social media or when you're creating content for social media? How do you currently feel in your body, in your heart, in your spirit? And drop it in the chat once you have it. How do we feel with social media right now? A mix between a daunting task and excitement to share what's on your heart. Yeah, that's very real. When social media becomes like a to-do list item, it can feel like a bit of a daunting task, especially because there's so many layers. Sometimes super inspired, but more times than not super resistant. Yeah, resistance. See, Ray says it fluctuates. When I think I have something that will be valuable, I get excited to share. When I feel like I'm forcing it to keep up consistency, it doesn't always feel authentic and aligned. Absolutely. That is so real. Yeah, I love those sparks of inspiration where it's like, all right, I just need to post this right now. And then, yeah, sometimes that consistency can turn into a to-do list task. It can turn into something more daunting or something that feels forced. So we're going to go in depth about that as well. Tilly feels excited, purposeful, and aligned when she's organized. And you have clarity about your message to your target audience. You do feel bored and overstimulated when you consume too much content and you're distracted. Yeah, that's great because so often I think that's a big reason why people feel even daunted about posting is we're over consuming, we're getting overstimulated, and then that comparison starts to kick in. So Jessica says she's unsure, wondering if what she's posting will resonate with her audience, sometimes getting 100 views, sometimes thousands. That's great. Nervous, intimidated, needing to sound perfect, overcritical, withdrawn. Okay. Yeah. So now that we've addressed like how we currently feel, I want you guys to take another minute to just close your eyes, take a couple of deep breaths, and reflect on how you want to feel. What is the desired feeling? If everything that you just typed out, feeling nervous, unsure, feeling distracted, feeling overstimulated, feeling that resistance, if all of that was gone, how would you actually be feeling? How do you want to feel? And when you have that, again, drop it in the chat. And Claudia, I know you said you have to drive for a bit, so your camera will be off. So don't type, but if you want to come on off of your mic and share verbally, if you feel safe to do that, I do invite that as well. How do we want to feel? Jessica wants to feel excited and pumped to post, not stressed. Ray wants to feel confident, inspired, authentic, sharing information that's transformational and helpful for others, efficient. Yeah, efficiency is really big. Free, creative, playful, engaged, expressive, comfortable, honest, and real. Woo! This is so good. Yeah. Yeah, this is the good stuff. I love it. Yeah, we want to feel honest. We want to feel authentic, especially now. I think so many of us are so burnt out from like the super curated content that's out there. Like we want to see humans being human. Tilly wants to feel fulfilled, prepared, authentic, and free. I love it. Yeah, the preparation. I think for those of you who said efficiency and preparedness, that's something that we're going to get into, yeah, throughout the training. And also just getting to that place of feeling confident, feeling really clear, kind of eliminating that comparison and that process of spending too much time perfecting and scrolling. That's going to be a big topic. So you guys are in the right place. I love it. Okay, so this brings us into our first training of the day, which is all about how to really get intentional with our social media use. How do we stop the doom scrolling and the overstimulation and the comparison? How do we get out of that space and really start holding ourselves accountable for the work that we're actually here to do, using these platforms as a tool? So it all starts with intention. It all starts with what is your actual goal of showing up here on these spaces? It's your intention, your mindset behind it, and your boundaries around the way that you interact with social media. So let's talk about imposter syndrome for a little bit, that like comparison trap that I think we've all experienced that on social media. Do you guys agree? Do you guys feel like you have all experienced some level of comparison with social media? Yeah, me too. Me too. It's a big thing. It's so normal to feel this way, so you're not alone. We just need to look at those deeper layers to understand why this might be coming up and what we can do to pull ourselves out of that when we start to slip into that pattern. So the first thing that I always look at when I find myself starting to get into that comparison mindset, that comparison pattern, where I'm looking at other people and I'm kind of subconsciously thinking, they seem like they have it all together, like they're so much more ahead of me, they're so beautiful, they have all these things, right? Maybe it's material things, maybe it's qualities. So the first thing I do is I look at it and I go, okay, I'm going to step out of myself for a second and I'm going to look at the qualities or the things, the values, the material items, whatever it is. What do I actually wish that I had when I'm comparing myself to somebody? And I want you guys to kind of reflect on that for a second. If you are finding yourself in this pattern, what are some of the main things that you tend to notice or look at as you are getting into that comparison mindset? What are the values that you're looking at in this person, in this account, in this content that you wish that you had? And you can drop that in the chat. I'm so curious to see. For me, it's usually yeah, like confidence, hilarity, beauty, freedom, travel. Like these are kind of the things that sometimes will set off that comparison for me. And as you guys are reflecting on this and sharing it in the chat, I want you to recognize or take a moment to reflect and find some evidence that you already have those qualities within yourself. What you're looking for in these external reflections, you're connecting with it because you already have it. Whether that's beauty, confidence, clarity, good communication, you already have those values and qualities within yourself. And it's through the expression, it's through the connection of those qualities within yourself that the rest of the things come. The money, the travel, the success, the clients. How's that landing for you guys? Can you see that you already have those qualities within yourself, those things within yourself? Beautiful. Yeah, if it's that abundance that you're looking for in that reflection of somebody you see on social media, think about the abundance you already have with this roof above your head, the food on your plate, the connection to yourself, the ability to go where you want to go, when you want to go there. If it's beauty, think about a time when you felt really beautiful in your own skin. Always bring it back to gratitude. Yeah. So this is a practice that I want to invite you guys to bring into your space, your inner work as you're scrolling through social media, whether that's intentionally or you find yourself caught in the doom scroll, because it happens to all of us every once in a while. When you find those pings of comparison that come up, remember to take that pause and say, what about it? What about this post was actually triggering to me? What about this? What qualities does this person have? Where can I find that within myself already? And it always brings me back to this place of confidence within myself. But sometimes it's not always that clear and easy to recognize that what we want, we already have. Sometimes it's not that easy. And that can be because even if you consciously recognize something within your world, within yourself, subconsciously we may have old patterns that are telling us to operate in this way of self-doubt and fear and lack-based programming that we've received in the past. And it's so normal to experience this. A lot of us are fed, like these lack patterns in our lives from our parents or our parents' parents or our society as a whole. So you're not broken. It's just something to be aware of and to look at. And I have some tools I want to share with you guys that can help really move you through some of those patterns. And this obviously can lead to comparison in all areas of your life, not just social media, but social media can be a big trigger for this because it's all right out there. Like we have access to all of it all at once. So it can be overstimulating. It can be a lot for the nervous system if we're constantly in this comparison space. We're constantly looking, they're so much better than I am. They're doing this and I'm doing this and it's not good enough, right? So in my opinion, these pings of insecurity and fear are a gift because they show us where our strengths actually live. When you lean in with curiosity and you inquire within yourself, what's coming up for me? Like what's behind this emotion? Like what's the trigger there? You can find important data that will show you exactly where you are lacking confidence in yourself, showing you exactly the areas where you desire more growth, the exact areas where you desire more love and compassion for yourself. So you can take any insecurity and turn it into a strength. And as I'm talking, if there's insecurities that are coming up for you, if there's things that are coming up for you, I invite you to drop it in the chat and we can actually turn it into a strength together. Does that sound like something that would be fun for you guys to kind of do this little exercise of what's something I feel insecure about? And then together we can kind of turn it into a strength. Yeah? All right, I'm gonna give you guys a minute. Drop it in the chat and we can play. We can play with it. So what are the things that come up for you when you're on social media and you get into that comparison bubble? What are the things that come up? And it's important to note that we all have areas where we're not the most confident. We all have areas where we want to improve. And that's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful thing. Yeah, Kaveda says, not feeling like I've done enough with my life. And this is a huge one because, like, especially age can play into this a lot. Like, in both ways. Like if you're younger, I feel like I haven't done enough with my life, or I haven't had enough experience, so I can't do the thing yet. If you're older, I feel like I've gotten this far and I haven't done enough with my life to be, you know, credible in what I'm talking about. I haven't had enough experience. I'm not qualified enough. I need the certifications. I need the experience. And to an extent, like, sure, that's real. Like if you want to be a doctor, like you should probably go to school to be a doctor. But also, I think especially in the coaching industry, we can get caught up in like the certifications and knowing like exactly how to do all the things, handle every situation. And we want to get ahead of ourselves to know like I'll be prepared enough for this. But the thing is like we will always find those times, like those excuses to say, I need more experience, I need more experience, I need more experience. And it can turn into a delay of actually showing up for yourself. So how is this a strength, not feeling qualified enough, not feeling like you've done enough in your life? It's a strength because if that's true, haven't done enough with my life, or you know, I haven't done what I want to do in my life yet, well, there is no better time than now. You have all the time to create it. And the beauty is you still have time. Like sometimes it feels like, oh my God, death is imminent. We're getting older every single day. And yeah, that's true. But also, like, we really do have so much time. I think we can get caught up in like, I need to hit these milestones at this time, at this time, at this time. And the truth is, like, there really is no real guideline. You can show up for your life at any time, and it's just about, you know, having that drive and saying, I feel like I haven't done enough with my life. That shows me that you have a lot of desire to show up for yourself, to show up for what you believe in, to show up for people. That shows me that you have that excitement and that encouragement to do what you want to do, to grow in the ways that you want to grow. So it's super important to also recognize like where you used to be and how far you've come in all the different ways, how far you've grown from point A to point B. I bet you there's so much growth in there that sometimes we don't always recognize those little wins along the way. Yeah, and also just like not having qualifications, right? Like maybe if you're not doing a certification, you come at it with a different perspective than all the other people who have been certified in a particular way. Maybe you have a new way that you come about it that only you can bring because that's the essence of who you are, right? Like the certification does not determine your value as a human being. It does not determine the value that you can bring to others through sharing your experiences, through sharing what you have been through, what you have done in your life. So let's see, not having success as quickly as others, insecurity around sales feeling low, but at the same time feeling too salesy, attaching my worth to monetary success. So this is a huge one too, like this thing about feeling salesy, insecurity around sales feeling low. So when you're in a place of low sales coming in your business, it's actually kind of a beautiful time, because once the sales start rolling in, things start ramping up, and then you get to, you know, deliver and perform, which is great. You get to do what you want to do and what you built. But this pocket of time before you pop off is a great time to really get very clear on who you want to work with, why you want to work with them, what do you want to do with that money when it comes in, and how are you going to manage it? How are you going to take care of yourself? Really making sure that foundation is solid so that when people come in, you have the capacity and the space to offer to them. So in a way, that time period is a big strength. Of course, then again, like there's that challenge of, you know, needing that financial flow to exist and survive, right? So there's also that piece. And it's important to, like, of course, make sure you can financially provide for yourself if you need to, you know, work for somebody else for a period of time to support the dream, to support the goal. And during that time, you get to learn so much about yourself. You get to learn so much about running a business. There's skills that we pick up through working with other people in different ways that are invaluable for running our own businesses when the time comes to fully commit to that, to fully step into it. And feeling too salesy, that's like a whole thing I could go off on. I don't want to get too sidetracked, but this is a very common thing. Actually, we are going to talk about it in the second teaching moment, so I'm going to come back around to that topic. Yeah, and kind of same thing around attaching your worth to monetary success. Like, that's a huge thing, especially as business owners, when we experience so much fluctuation in our income. It is very, very normal to have fluctuations in your finances as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. There's some businesses that work like super hard 3 months out of the year, and they make all of their money for the year in those first 3 months. And the rest of those months, they're not having income coming through. And so, especially in kind of the coaching industry and with social media, we've kind of gotten this perspective of, I need to be making money every single month to be worthy, to be successful. But it's just not really true. Of course, we want to feel abundant. Of course, we want to have all of our needs covered. But sometimes we'll have a big flush, and then sometimes it'll slow down a little bit. And that is the ebb and flow of life. That is the flow of energy. That is the flow of cycles, right? So there's things that we can do to make it more consistent. But yeah, it's super important to learn how to flow with those ebbs and those cycles, and to let go of that attachment, because the money is just energy. So when there's maybe not as much abundance in money, look at other areas of your life where there is a lot of abundance, maybe in friendships, in time, in opportunity. Yeah. Was that helpful for you guys to reflect on some of those things together? Yeah. Beautiful. Oh. Yeah, it's super important, because so much can change from day to day, especially for the female-bodied humans in the room that have menstrual cycles. Like, we don't operate in the same way as that 24-hour hormonal cycle that men have. So the way that we're going to operate business, the way we're going to see financial flow is going to be a little bit different. It has a huge impact. So with all of it, it's a practice. It's not just something that anyone perfects, even if it appears that way on social media, because it's easy to scroll and see, oh, they seem to be making a lot of money every single month, but you're not really seeing everything that's going on behind the scenes, behind the curtains, right? Maybe that is the case. Maybe they are making a lot of money every month, but like, what is the full picture, right? So it's super important that when we're looking at things on social media, we're recognizing like we are getting a window of time, a window of an experience, a window of a reflection, and it doesn't paint the whole picture for us. So remembering like that doesn't change like your value. But especially, you know, now more than ever, people want to really authentically connect and see you for who you truly are. I imagine that you guys are also feeling this too with the way the chat's been going. Everyone's wanting to feel authentic in the way that they are operating on social media. There's this big wave of letting go of the super curated experience that social media has brought for so long and really connecting with who are we as human beings and how do we share that with each other in a way that feels really, really good and real. And this is how we're going to connect with people. This is how we're really going to be able to make impact in people's lives when we really show up authentically as who we are. People are hungry for that deeper connection and that vulnerability, which really leads us to a place of intimacy and connection. And that's why I invite that vulnerability in this space too. Like, vulnerability is the door to connection. It's the door to intimacy. If we want to know each other better, if we want to connect more, if we want to be making more sales in our business, more impact in our business, we got to start with that connection. I'm sure you guys have heard the phrase, fake it till you make it. Have you guys heard that before? Yeah. So at the time, this was so big in marketing because people are like, you don't have to have it all figured out. Just fake it. Just fake it like you do have it. And then it'll happen. It'll happen. It'll happen. And maybe you've been suggested to go and like look at other people in your niche on social media and copy what they're doing. Like, what are the hooks that they're using? What's the style of video that they're making? What do their photos look like? What does their feed look like? And just put your own spin on it. Just put your own spin on it. And while yes, this is a strategy that can work for a little while as you start to play around and figure out what is your own voice, your own essence, your own, you know, creative flair, it can also cause a lot of confusion that will require unlearning patterns later on. It can also drive a lot more comparison and a lot more disconnection from your own truth and your own purpose. So I want you guys to be very careful about kind of consuming content on social media and copying similarly like what other people are doing, because it can be helpful to look at what's working for other people, kind of collecting some data, but it also can be very, very challenging to maintain your own story, your own voice, your own creativity. Because people want to work with you for who you are, for your essence, for your creativity, for what you have to say, for your story. Not because you have a pretty feed. You know, that might be a part of it, of like someone coming in and being like, oh, this looks really professional, looks really good, right? And that's a good thing. We do want that, but ultimately people want to connect with you for who you are, for your challenges, your breakthroughs, how you got from point A to point B. People want to follow a journey and be a part of a movement, not just, you know, look at pretty things all day. When you're looking to have conversions on social media, you're looking to have that impact. People want to follow that journey. And the good news is that you already have that within yourself. You already have that calling. So it's not something that you need to find and go look for in external places. You have all of that within yourself already. And so this is great, but how do we actually kind of reprogram ourselves and adjust so that we can show up really confidently in our truth, sharing vulnerably on social media? Because it's kind of terrifying to put it all out there. It's kind of terrifying to like show up with your face on camera and say, I went through this really hard time. And this is what happened. And now here I am on the other side of it. And this is why I do what I do. It can be really scary. So there are a lot of different tools you can use to dig deeper into the underlying subconscious patterns, and everyone is unique. We don't have to go in and understand it all. Sometimes it's an emotion that wants to be processed somatically through movement or through vocalization or through tears, through, stomping on the earth. There's so many ways to move that energy through yourself. And the reason why I'm talking about this in regards to social media is because those subconscious patterns, or that trapped emotion, that trapped energy, it feeds into or leaks into everything that we do, not just on social media, but everything that we do. And then obviously, through social media as well. So I do invite you guys to explore these things because it can have a major impact in your life in general, and that inherently is going to impact your business and your marketing strategy as well. So I'm going to drop a couple of resources in the chat. These are some videos and some audios that I listen to on a regular basis to help just maintain those subconscious patterns and kind of rewire, reestablish healthier patterns compared to what has been there before. So this first link is a video that has abundance and wealth affirmations. So if you're the person struggling with attaching your worth to money, if you're struggling with feeling salesy, if you're struggling with the low sales, if you're struggling with just feeling abundant and good about life in general, feeling confident, these affirmations are really, really good. And of course, with affirmations, like, we have to fully believe in what we're saying. And so I highly encourage with this video, you repeat them out loud and you do it again and again and again until it feels like a piece of you, like you are genuinely expressing these things about yourself. And I really like this video too because she states everything as a "you are" statement, and then you repeat it as an "I am" statement. And for me personally, I've found that to be very, very helpful in reprogramming the patterns, because so often the subconscious patterns are told to us as "you're this, you're that, this is how you act, this is how you behave, this is how the world is." And so when I'm hearing "you are abundant, you are wealthy, you are a beautiful person who makes impact in the world," and then I'm saying that, affirming that about myself, it's like reprogramming what I'm being fed and then affirming it within myself as well. So that's a really powerful one if you guys want to check that out. And then here's another link as well with a playlist of subliminal audios. So this is basically like a very chill lo-fi music where underneath of it there are these affirmations being spoken, which then goes into your subconscious mind, and you start to kind of live out these affirmations. And she has all the affirmations listed so you can see exactly what's being said, so you know what's kind of going into your system. But I love putting these on while I'm doing admin work on my business, while I'm making my breakfast, while I'm doing things when I would usually have on some kind of background music, some kind of lo-fi, something to keep me focused. This is a really great way to still be doing energy work without actively having to get up and do anything. You're just supplementing something you would already do with something that has a little bit of extra fuel and juice behind it. So that's a really powerful tool. And you guys will also get an email with all of these links in it as well so that you can reference it. But I do recommend grabbing them now and putting them somewhere in the meantime so you can access it. Okay, so the next thing we really need to talk about is boundaries. And this is where we're going to get into really establishing that healthy relationship with social media, and not getting too out of hand with the doom scrolling that we all end up doing sometimes. So I'll be giving you some actionable steps that you can take. But first, I want to tell you guys a story. So when I first started doing social media work for clients, I would go on to do a very simple task like schedule out a post or post something, and I would find myself scrolling Instagram all day long, like getting sucked into it, getting into the abyss. And I had just moved, so I didn't have a lot of connections in my area. I didn't have a lot of friends and in my location, so I was seeking that connection through social media as a way to connect with others, to connect with myself, because we are creatures of community. We do need that connection with other people. And obviously, this wasn't healthy at all, and it led to poor results in my mental, emotional, physical health. And because of that, it was super detrimental for the growth of my business at the time as well. Because I was wasting so much time, I was getting overstimulated, and then I had to like turn it all off, you know. So it was much more challenging for me to feel clear and energized throughout my workday. I also started to really like have it was impacting my relationships with others poorly, and deeper down it started to diminish my own self-trust. And this was at the very beginning of my business, so I had zero boundaries with social media. I would go on whenever I wanted. I wasn't giving myself any kind of boundary to go off of. And because of that, I suffered in every aspect of my life. And I believe this is why so many people hate social media or feel like you know, they don't want anything to do with it. It's because these apps are literally designed to keep us scrolling, to keep us interacting, to keep us engaging. And when we have challenges with establishing our own personal boundaries, it can be very easy for these apps to take advantage of that. Does this sound familiar to some of you guys? Yeah, big nods, for sure. If you generally stay away from social media, this is also really important for you to understand. Social media is what you make it based on your intentions and your boundaries. And this requires a cultivation of self-trust and discipline. And when I say discipline, I am still saying self-trust. This is a word that I think often we perceive as negative or intense, right? But discipline is so important for our ability to connect to ourselves, to trust in ourselves. In Turkish, discipline literally means self-trust. And because we know these apps are designed to keep us addicted and scrolling, we also know that it is the most powerful free tool for marketing. So it's up to us how we choose to use it. And this is going to really change the impact that we're able to make in people's lives. So starting out with a clear set of boundaries is a really great way to support yourself in making the decision to be intentional with the apps. It's actually essential. So even if you feel like you don't have a problem with social media and you feel like your boundaries, you're pretty good at getting yourself out of the scroll, this is energetic hygiene, like coming into it, having those clear boundaries. So I want you guys to take a moment to reflect and type in the chat, what boundaries can you implement based on your schedule, which is, you know, what days and times will you actually use social media? For example, I only open social media during my working hours, and occasionally if I'm having a lazy Sunday, I will give myself permission to scroll for like an hour, max. 30 minutes is even better. So what is your schedule with social media? What activities do you allow yourself to do on social media? I only use it for posting content and networking for my business, in exception of watching memes when my one best friend sends them to me. Okay, and I like carve out time. I'm like, all right, the work is done. I'm gonna go through and watch all of the memes that my friend just sent me. And then also, who do you plan to connect with? Do you use your account for business purposes only? Do you use it to connect with friends and family? Do you use it for a little bit of both? So Claudia says no phone first hour of the day or 2 hours before bed. I love it. I love it. And so then, you know, what activities do you do on social media? Do you allow yourself to scroll mindlessly? If so, can you put a time cap on that? If you know you're going into that space, can you set a timer? And that will help you like eliminate that doom scrolling pattern. So I also have for you guys a worksheet that I'm going to drop into the chat where you can plug in some of these answers and you can do further reflection on what your boundaries are for social media. And I highly encourage you guys, whether it's through this worksheet or just on a piece of paper, I encourage you to put it somewhere where you can see it consistently. Put it up on your wall. Put it as the background for your phone screen so you're always seeing it, right? It depends on like how intensely you need to get it in front of your eyes. With how, you know, often you find yourself in those patterns, but it's super important to have it visible so you can come back to it. And consider these boundaries next time you open social media. If you find yourself slipping into the pattern, ask yourself, is this really worth it? Is this hit of dopamine I could get from watching this cat video, is it really worth losing or damaging that self-trust that I've cultivated with myself? Is it really worth it? You know? And if you need those reminders, have it on your wall, have it in your workspace, those boundaries. How do you use social media? Getting clear on that is going to really help clear up that distraction. And so a couple of other action items that you guys can implement to establish a healthier relationship with social media. First of all, you know, creating those boundaries, put it as many places as you need to have that visual. You can also block your apps for specific times of the day. So you can do this through an iPhone really easily, and if you're on an Android, sometimes they have it, or you can download apps that help you do this as well, where you set a time limit for those apps. So if you've gone on it past a certain period of time, I have mine set for like 2 hours because that's roughly how long I might need to spend on social media for my personal social media work, posting content, responding to comments, reaching out to people, and doing all of my client work as well. It might be different for you. And then I also encourage you guys to go on a 30-day social media fast. Now, this doesn't mean that you're not posting content and you're not showing up for your business, you're not responding to messages. You can still go on social media, but the fast is really about not scrolling mindlessly. Like, no more consumption. Just cut yourself off. And this is good for people who are able to do kind of the cold turkey thing. Not everyone is good with that. Some people need a little bit more of a gradual disconnection from the pattern. But if you're someone who can just go, okay, I'm not going to do this thing anymore, 30 days, I'm setting it up on my calendar, I'm going to track it, that's really great. And intentional engagement is okay, but again, this is going to require a lot of that self-responsibility and self-trust. The other thing that we can do in regards to the comparison thing that comes up is we can actually unfollow or just mute for a period of time any account, anyone who you start to feel that comparison ick come up for. Being able to mute people is really, really great if it's like a friend or a family member, or it's somebody who you still want to follow, you still want to support them, but you're feeling maybe a little triggered, you're finding yourself going into that comparison with their posts in particular. Just mute their account for a little bit, like 2 weeks, 30 days, whatever feels right for you, just to give yourself that break from consuming that kind of content. Yeah. So I want to open up the floor because I know that was a lot of information and a lot of talking and a lot of reflection. So I want to open up the space for you guys to share really quickly any big ahas, any or small ahas, takeaways, reflections, or questions that you guys have from that conversation. Feel free to unmute and share, or you can drop it in the chat.
I guess I'll go. I think for me, the biggest moment that landed was like discipline, meaning self-trust. Because usually when we think discipline, it's like, go hard, do the thing, like be hard. And then there's no like, oh, but it can mean something really powerful, which is like trusting yourself and knowing that no matter what, this is the thing that you're going to do because you trust that you'll keep your word.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much for sharing that. It's so important to recognize that discipline looks different for everybody. Consistency looks different for everybody. Like you being disciplined and showing up on social media twice a week, that might be exactly right for you, for your goals, for your business, for your mission, depending on where you're at. Consistency or discipline might look like showing up 5 days a week, 7 days a week, every single day, showing up. It depends on your capacity. Depends on what your goals are, where you're wanting to go with it. Thanks so much for sharing that reflection, Marcia. That's a really big one. Does anyone else want to share reflections, questions, perspective shift maybe?
A big one for me is just having boundaries with social media because like recently I've just been getting like sucked in the scroll portal of just like scrolling and like I'm aware of it and I'm like, what am I doing? But yeah, it's funny that you brought up boundaries because I sat with myself this morning and it's something that I started creating. I was like, wow, like, why am I actually here? What am I doing here? And what do I want to create? So I think that's a really important point, and I'm really happy that you brought that up because it's just, yeah, highlighting the importance of it in my life and for everyone else. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things where like if we are lacking boundaries in regards to social media, that's going to bleed into our personal relationships. That's going to bleed into our boundaries around, like how we allow people to speak to us or what kind of environment we're in, the way that we, take care of ourselves. And I think sometimes the word boundary, it can feel like I'm putting this wall between me and this thing. It can feel so like, right? But it's actually a really, really, really beautiful thing. It's having boundaries is saying like, I know my value. I know my worth. I care about myself and I care about you enough to say, I need to take care of myself in this way. This is what my needs are. And with social media, it's like, I want to show up better for this space, for this container that I'm creating. And those boundaries allow me to show up as a better person in that space because I'm taking care of myself. I'm nurturing myself. I'm nourishing myself with the time and the clarity and the energy that I need so that when I create content, I don't feel rushed. When I create content, I don't feel pressured. When I create content and put it out there, I feel aligned with what I'm doing. That's why boundaries are important. It's not about being like, no, I can't be around you. It's like, I just need to shift the way I'm taking care of myself so I can show up better. So that's really beautiful. I'm so glad, Claudia, that you were already reflecting on boundaries and then we have this whole conversation. Yeah. And I want to remind you guys that worksheet is in the chat as well. I highly recommend you guys pull it up and go through it, whether you do it in the worksheet or you kind of do it pen and paper alongside. Super good. Tilly's rule is create content before I consume. Yeah, that's great. I always do that as well. Like I try to create time to create content, and we'll talk more about this tomorrow. But I do that before I like scroll on social media at all, even if it's for my intentional scrolling. And intentional scrolling is when, you know, you're going on and you're purposefully engaging with people to connect, in regards to, you know, providing value for them, receiving value from them, right? Connecting in kind of a networking style. Does anyone else want to share before we move forward? Feeling good? All right, awesome. You guys are great. Thanks for being here. So really quick, I want to check in. Do you guys want to take a quick 3-minute break, or are you want to just keep rolling with it? Claudia wants to keep rolling. Keep rolling? Keep going? Okay, we're going to keep going then. Cool. So we're going to talk about this engagement piece a bit more, because it's super important once we have our boundaries in place that we understand how to connect and find the right people who want to see our content, who might want to work with us, who might need to actually like have what we're offering. Because we don't want to be, you know, speaking out to a whole group of people who don't even need what we're talking about. And sometimes this is where that salesy thing can come in, feeling like I'm like talking at them about this thing that I'm offering, or, you know, feeling uncomfortable about sharing what you're doing. But I want to just put it out there real quick. Like, I feel, and this is my personal belief, you don't have to feel this way, but I personally feel that it is my moral obligation to share this information with you guys, to share this value with you guys, because I was given these gifts and you were all given the gifts that you have. Even if that's still coming into clarity for you, like you all were given this beautiful personality. You were put here in this beautiful body to make a difference, to make an impact, to connect with people. We all have been. And I believe it's our moral obligation to share that with people. And so we just have to figure out, how do we get what we're even talking about in front of the right people so that it lands, so that it connects. So when we talk about engagement on social media, it's really, really, really important to be clear with your intentions here. Because if your intentions are cloudy, people are going to feel that, and it's also going to be really easy for you to get triggered when somebody is not connecting with what you're doing. So the way that you feel behind every action bleeds into your connections. Even though we're on a digital space, things are still felt through the words that you're using, through the way that you're speaking, the way you're communicating. We can still have body language and verbal cues through social media conversations. So if you're coming at it with this expectant energy, that this connection will lead to a sale, you'll find more people who have their walls up with you. Versus if you go into it with a genuine desire to connect and with an openness to what could unfold, then people will be a lot more open and curious with you. It doesn't mean everyone will be, but I have experienced the majority of people will feel a lot more open to connect with you if you are going into it with that openness. And this kind of bleeds into, you know, if you go into it feeling like, I don't want to be salesy, people are going to feel like that, like not feeling sure, that unsurety, right, in that energy. I don't want to be salesy. I don't want them to think I'm selling them. just go into it open, like release all the expectations, just connect with people, and you never know where it will lead. Yeah, I've been on both sides of the coin, to be honest, because like I mentioned before, when I was in marketing school, I was being taught the very classic bro-y, like go out there and just like sell, sell, sell in this very sleazy, manipulative way. Like I tried it and I was like, oh God, this feels so bad. Like, and it did not work. It did not work because I was so out of alignment with what I was trying to do, just trying to copy and paste. This is what all the people are doing. This is what all the people are doing. I'm gonna try it. It doesn't work like that. You got to come at it with your own essence, your own specialty, right? So I'm curious in here, does anybody already have a DM, direct message marketing strategy? Is anybody in here using that to make connections with people on social media? I'm seeing some no's. Okay. So what does that even mean? What even is a direct message marketing strategy? So DM marketing is a technique where you find accounts on social media who kind of seem like someone you'd like to connect with, your ideal client, maybe, and you reach out to them with a direct message. And generally you're finding people you've never talked to before, but this can also apply for reaching out to warm audiences who are already familiar with you and your work. Maybe they've been following you for a little bit. You can also reach out to them as well. So DM marketing has somewhat of an iffy reputation. It's kind of like cold calling. If you're familiar with like the old school sales techniques, or you've gotten the, hey, I want to talk to you about your car insurance calls. Like it kind of feels like it's in a similar realm. And today I'm going to show you like how different this strategy can actually be and how well it works when you come into it with pure intention and you really, really like connect from a genuine place. It can feel a bit ick. We don't want it to feel ick. Because the goal with DM marketing is genuinely to make connections and nurture relationships. The goal, in my opinion, is not to sell people on your offer in the DMs. Although a lot of people do this, a lot of people use this strategy to go in for the sale, and a lot of people that works for them. For me, I don't like doing that because I just want to nurture those relationships. I don't know if that person I'm talking to even needs my offer or service because I haven't had a conversation with them. I don't even know if they are a fit for what I'm offering them, if they're somebody that I actually want to work with. So I like to kind of have a bridge where we get to connect and we get to see what we're like, because I'm not just trying to make money. I'm not just trying to like make all this money in my business. I'm trying to really make an impact and give people what they need to make even more impact, right? So when I'm going into it, I know that my intention is to connect and see where things go and to ultimately make an impact, whether that is through a sale and actually working with somebody, or that is through a collaboration and being able to support them in their mission just through being their friend. You never know. So with this method, it is all about planting the seeds and building the soil. We're focused on nurturing. That is the most important thing. So we want to let go of any expectations and go in with the intention of connection. So I'm going to take you through the step-by-step process of what I do to find and start engaging with new leads on social media. And if you're a new account or you have a goal of growing a following, this is a really, really, really great way to do that as well, because you're going to be finding more quality followers than just like, my post went viral and now I have all these people flooding in, and then next time you post, nobody's engaging because they were coming in for like that one thing, right? So this is a really great way to make those more long-lasting relationships. So the first thing I do is I will create space in my calendar every single week for this strategy. How often you do this is going to depend on your goals and your capacity. It can be once a week, it could be twice a day. So a lot of times when I share this, people can get overwhelmed, like, oh, that sounds like it takes a lot of time. And at first, it can be a little time consuming as you get familiar with the process and as you streamline everything. But I'm going to share exactly how I make this process really quick, really easy, and also really fun. So creating the space in your calendar, first and foremost, that's good boundaries, good energy hygiene. You're creating the space to show up for yourself with that discipline, that commitment to your goals. And then you want to open up a CRM database. And CRM, it basically stands for Customer Relationship Management. And this is it can be a spreadsheet, it can be a software that you pay for or use for free, like HubSpot. I personally use Notion, and I've created a database in there that is specifically designed for my business and the process that works really well for me. So whatever that looks like for you, I highly recommend having some form of digital process to keep track of all the people you're communicating with. And the reason why I say digital is because when you have all of your connections, all of your leads on paper, it can be so challenging to keep track and keep things updated and for you to see everything in one place when you're talking with them. So having the CRM database allows for you to update things along the way so that I have a sneeze. Oh, excuse me. Right? It's gone. It's gone. The CRM database allows you to pull everything up all at once, and you can update things ahead of time, and you can also keep track of things so much easier. And you can also automate certain tasks in the back end of your business, which is super, super important if you're running an online business and you want to spend less time on your computer and you want to spend less time doing all of the intricate small tasks that take a lot of time. Automation is a powerful, powerful, powerful thing. And contrary to popular belief, it actually allows you to go deeper into your business instead of like taking you away from it. Because when you have more time to spend with your clients, you have more time to impact more people. That is a big deal. So once I have that open, I will set a timer for about 30 minutes and play some music that gets me into a good mood. Oftentimes, I'm listening to that playlist that I shared with you with the subliminal lo-fi music because it gets me in that good energetic state as well. And it's catching any of my subconscious patterns that might be limiting me or putting me into those, unhealthy patterns. So I recommend doing 30-minute increments so that you don't get burnt out. You can do longer if that feels better for you. Of course, you can adjust any of these things so that it works best for you. If you already have some momentum going, you've already got some messages out, I recommend focusing on follow-ups first. So reach out to all the people you want to follow up with. Go in and respond to any messages that have come through, because so often you can have more faster growth coming through by nurturing the relationships that are already there. And then once you get through that, you want to focus on new outbound messages. So this strategy works really great for Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. TikTok, not so much, just because messaging is a bit weird on TikTok and people have such a shorter attention span that it can be a little bit harder to build those relationships on TikTok. But it works really good for Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn. With each platform, there's going to be a unique set of rules, but today we're going to focus mainly on Instagram and Facebook. So there's a few different ways to find new accounts, and here are some ideas that you can use. First, you can go through your current followers and reach out to anyone you haven't talked to. anyone you haven't reached out to before. If you've already established a conversation with someone you're following, you can kind of revisit that conversation and just continue nurturing that connection. You can also go to an account that you've been following that you enjoy. And if they have a similar target audience to you, you can go to their comments and to their followers and reach out to people from there. So, of course, not everyone you reach out to is going to respond, but this is a great way to just like have a couple of different avenues to like kind of connect with people through on similar topics. You can also search for keywords related to your ideal audience, like motherhood or holistic health or virtual assistant or coach, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And this is going to work really well if you are working with businesses, if you're working with entrepreneurs, if you're working with people who are kind of already using social media for something specific to where they would have that keyword in their bio. So that's not going to work for everybody, but it is one option on how you can find people. You can also, you know, search those keywords for people who are doing something similar to you, and then go into their comments, go into their followers, and connect with people that way. You can also really, however you end up finding people, you want to kind of go through a specific process before you even send them the first message. And there's multiple reasons for this. For Instagram specifically, it's because we want to create chat history with them so that the message we send them doesn't just go to requests, it drops more into like the general folder or the primary folder. So what I recommend doing is first responding to a story or a story highlight if they don't have an active story. And you want to just like say something, you know, this is really awesome. I love that you shared this. Something that's authentic. You actually saw their content. You actually enjoyed it. What did you enjoy about it? Reach out to them. Share with them what that was. You can also like a couple of their posts. You can also leave a sweet comment. You really want to just focus on being genuine, making that genuine connection. You also want to follow their account so that you can continue to engage with what they're sharing. And then you can either wait to see, wait for them to see and respond to your story reply or your comments. Or you can go ahead and send your first nurture message. And this nurture message is going to be something like, hey, I just found your account. I absolutely love the content you're sharing. This specific reel really stood out to me, and here's why. There's so many different things that you could say depending on your niche, the way that you connect, the way you communicate, and also what you actually really liked about their account and what they were sharing. Once you have done this process, you want to add them to your CRM with some sort of tag like engaging on socials. This just tells you you are in the nurture phase. You're in this process where you are focusing on connection and nurturing a relationship with them. So then you're going to continue this process until you run out of time on your timer or until you've reached about 15 new people. And the reason why we only want to do about 15 new reach outs in an hour is because Instagram can flag your account if you're sending out too many new messages, because they'll flag you as spam. If you're like going out and reaching out to a ton of new people, we don't want to be doing that, but we do want to have some sort of a consistent flow so that your page is getting in front of new eyes, you're making new connections, and it's the reason why I love this process is because it is more intimate than like, I'm going to post content and hope that you see it and hope that the right people see it. You're actually in this process. It's like going out and making new friends. We're actually going out and making those connections. Of course, if you have goals of big growth, big financial goals, you know, you want to reach more people, I would recommend repeating this twice per day, but then again, capping it at about 10 to 15 accounts every time you do it. And then once you've had all of your reach outs for the day, you want to log how many you sent out in a spreadsheet so that you can track some of your metrics. Tracking metrics is super important for understanding how well this is working. It's going to show you whether or not maybe you need to tweak your process. Maybe you need to tweak your messaging, what you're saying to people, how you're reaching out. And then you want to follow up with people every 3 days or so. Sometimes that follow-up looks like just commenting on a post. Sometimes it looks like replying to another story. Sometimes it looks like saying, hey, I'm just circling back to this, or hey, I'm just bringing this to the top of your feed. Hey, I know life gets busy. I just want to check in with you. How are you doing? So I'm going to drop in the chat again a spreadsheet that I use to actually track my metrics for this specific strategy. So you guys will be able to use this to keep track of how many messages you're sending out, how many booking links, or how many videos, or whatever your bridge is. Because the goal is to ultimately, as you're making connections with people, invite them to an event you're hosting. Share a video with them about what you do. Get on a discovery call to just connect, right? Whatever flows best, works best for your business, your niche, your offer. You want to find some way to continue that connection and share a bit more about what you do to see if it would be a good fit for them. So that spreadsheet in the chat is going to help with that process. So this has been super successful for me over the past 4.5 years that I've been using this strategy. And it's exactly how I connected with most of you in the room today, which is super cool. I love being able to meet new people from all over the world through this process. I think of it like this. It's like going to a huge networking event and connecting with people through the weekend, exchanging contacts, exchanging values, seeing how we can support each other. It's like that, except for, it's on a very large scale because we have access to so many people through social media. Sometimes I get rejected. Sometimes I get ignored. Sometimes I get ghosted. And sometimes I end up collaborating with incredible people. Sometimes I get to provide free value and make an impact, like today. And a portion of the people end up becoming clients, which is where I get to make an even bigger impact, through the work that I do. So I think it's super cool. It gives me a lot of perspective. It gives me a lot of practice of not taking things personally when I do get rejected, when I do get ignored. And I think it's super important that as you go through this process, when those things happen, again, coming back to that practice of noticing these triggers. What is it about this process? What is it about the fact that I got ignored or whatever that is triggering something within me? How can I look at that within myself? What's that layer of confidence that I want to have in my life, and how can I cultivate that? The key to all of this, though, is to really let go of that expectation if somebody's going to become a client or not. Because you don't know. You don't know where they're at, what they need, what's going on in their world. So if I'm reaching out with an invitation, I am always direct about it early on so they understand what my intention is. People get upset if you go in, you start connecting with them, and then you're like, hey, I want to, invite you to this thing. Sometimes they can be like, oh, so that was your intention this whole time, and they can get a little defensive. So we do want to be direct and clear about what we're coming in with, and also clear about I really want to connect with you as well. So I'll usually say something like, that's really awesome. I'm super excited to learn a bit more about what you're doing. I'd love to extend this invitation to you for something I think would be helpful. Always asking consent before extending the invitation is super important. So if this feels like a lot for you guys, I want you to just start small and see what happens. Just experiment with it. And it might turn out that you really like it. It might turn out that it's not really for you, and maybe it's something that you want to delegate. You can definitely have a virtual assistant do this process for you. And in my experience, it greatly pays off to have this strategy along with other content strategies, because it really does help get those consistent leads, those consistent connections coming in to your page, to your business. So to piggyback on this strategy, tomorrow we're going to be talking about how to create that engaging content so that when you do reach out to new people, they automatically feel a level of connection and trust with you through your content. So if you want to dive in deeper on how to connect with your audience through your content as well, you'll definitely want to show up for the training tomorrow live, because again, we're going to work through some things together. Awesome. So does anyone want to share any aha moments, any reflections, or any questions about this strategy that I just shared? Because I know that was probably a lot of information. And again, feel free to unmute or drop it in the chat. And the reflections do not have to be positive. They don't have to be negative. They can be, you know, whatever is coming up for you. Are you guys still with me?
Oh yeah, I'm here. I wanted to say something.
Yeah.
I really appreciated the kind of like detail-oriented run-through of everything and how like the way you explained everything gave me personally the ability to be flexible with it. And I appreciate the way you structured the information so that we can kind of do what we naturally do as who we are. But like structure is important.
Yeah. Thanks so much for sharing that, because I'm so glad that that's coming through really clearly, because with strategy, anything systematic, it's always about adjusting it and tweaking it for what makes sense for you. Like, I don't ever want you guys to just take what I'm sharing and copy and paste. You can, but ultimately you got to figure out what works best for you and for what you're doing, what feels aligned. Because at the end of the day, you're the person living the life that you're creating. So super important. Thanks for sharing, Kaveda. Does anyone else have any questions or reflections? Feeling good? Feeling good? Okay, beautiful. Well, that concludes day 1 of Show Up Radiant on social media. I'm so grateful that you guys have been here today, and I really, really want to congratulate you for completing the training today and for showing up and committing to yourself and committing to your goals and your dreams and your vision and the impact that comes along with all of that. So I want to invite you guys to do some more reflecting between, you know, tonight and tomorrow. So when you go to sleep tonight, think about what it would be like to wake up with new leads pouring in from your social media. People who are like, I'm obsessed with what you're doing. I need to get closer to you because I want to be there too. How do you do it? Teach me how you do it. Or I need this thing because I just know I'm at this point in my life where it's time for me to take control of my health, to really show up for myself. Please show me how you do it. What would it feel like to wake up to those kinds of messages coming through for you on social media? What would it feel like? What would it be like to have fun to feel confident and clear while you're actually creating content and having those conversations on social